Hey guys, welcome back to another garage video. My name is George. If it's your first time here, I mess around with Japanese cars, do drifting and all sorts of stuff. It's absolutely freezing. I think you can just about see it. Today we're going to be changing the steering rack and installing a lock kit on the 350Z. When I first bought the car there was a bit of a noise, so I got a new steering rack and fingers crossed that's the problem. So we're going to be changing that and then we're going to be installing Czech lock kit. There are two companies that make sort of budget lock kit. It's still quite expensive. One of them Czech and the other one I'm not entirely sure about the company name, but they call it a Mantis kit and they are from Canada. So even though this is Australian, it's quite readily available in the UK. I think the price was, I'm gonna say 250 quid. So it's quite a lot of money still, but it seems like a nice bit of kit. I'm just gonna show you now. This is what you receive. This is the version 3, which I think comes with the steering rack spacers as well. And this kit allows you to change the acronym as well. So that's quite handy for drifting. And let me try and explain to you what acronym actually means. Okay, so what is acronym? This is not gonna be very scientific, but it's an arrangement of the suspension design or the steering design for most cars, apart from some really early stuff, which allows the wheels to turn at different angles. So the one that will be on the inside of the turn turns more than the one on the outside because it's making a sort of less of a turn. In drifting, this is not desirable because essentially what is desirable is zero acronym or even an opposite acronym, because when you go right, your steering is actually turn left, if that makes sense. So in reality, you need the opposite. So this allows us to change that as well, which is great. So first up, I think we're gonna be removing pretty much everything. I know the steering wheel is straight, so remove the rack with the tracker ends, inner tie rods, everything. The way this kit works, you're essentially just relocating the mounting point for the tracker end further in. So obviously the same amount of travel in the rack will result in more travel in the wheel. So this has got a little brace underneath. I'm not entirely sure whether it's something that's factory or not, but I will try and remove the rack with the brace still in place. But first up, I think we have to try and remove all this stuff here. Next up, this nut here, it seems a little bit rusty there, but it should be alright. There we go. Next up, the actual nut on there. It did have a circlip on it, which I've removed already. It was just a bit rusty and took forever. See if we can get a nut on it. Lovely. Oh, we won't be using this tracker then, so I'll try and just hit it from the top. Or not. There we go. Then I'm thinking we're gonna take the boot off. That's it. And then we're gonna undo the, what would you call it, a tie rod end track? No, it is a tie rod end, inner tie rod. So which way are you going? This way. See the amount of play in that rack? I don't think that's normal. That's it. So I'll definitely put a Loctite on that. Oh, these pliers are dreadful. So far so good. We're going to be reusing this, so keep it safe. I'll probably clean it up a little bit. I'm just going to do the other side and then we'll remove the rack. I've removed the other side. I've got some bad news, and that is, if you can see it, that the inner tie rod is seriously bent. So I'm on a hunt for a new one, second-hand, brand new or whatever. Obviously the car was owned by a bit of a DK. So now let's remove the steering rack. Onto the steering rack, I'm gonna remove the low pressure and the high pressure. Hopefully it's gonna undo just fine. Then get onto the column there, and then we've got what looks like a 14mm bolts, maybe 17s. And fingers crossed I can slide it out without removing the brace. Next up, onto the power steering hoses. Okay, that clip's knackered, so we'll need to put a new Jubilee clip on there, that's fine. Everything's a little bit rusty in this car, I'm not gonna lie. It is a Nissan after all. Alright, let it drain. Now onto the high pressure, I'll give it a little wire brush and a spray up with a WD-40 because normally the union seizes on the pipe, but we're alright. I'm gonna undo the, what do you call it, a pinch bolt for the steering column. Alright, so that's that. We should hopefully be able to knock it off the spline. I'm not worried about the steering wheel location, it's pissed, but it doesn't matter because we will be starting from scratch and the clock spring is knackered anyway. Now I remember why I like Toyotas, because this thing is absolutely to work on. Jesus. Oh, I'm just a bit worried that that bolt's gonna hit this anyway. To go, it's definitely entertaining. I'm just gonna bend these out of the way because we will not be reusing this rack anyway. So I'll put this spanner on there. When you do this, make sure you put that on already. It's very difficult to put it in after you mount the bracket in. The answer is no, it's quite a fine one, fine thread, so I'm going to undo this one here, put it to the top and then put this one at the bottom, because we can put a ratchet on it. I think this varies on whether you've got a left-hand drive or right-hand drive car. Let that dry. Alright, so make sure you put some thread locker on there. Hold the rack. No, that's the wrong spanner. Okay, nothing too crazy. On the other side we've got the small 6mm spacer and some Loctite. Make sure everything's nice and clean. Again, nothing too tight, lovely. And now we got to see whether we can try and centralize the rack. According to Czech, each side should be about 81mm. 80, 82, so they're definitely not lying. 81, 81, perfect. Now we can put a steering wheel in the car straight. The rest will be done with trucking. Talking about steering wheels, now we can put on the boot. That's it. cable tie, nothing too fancy. Should be right. Alright, so I think I'm pretty much done with the locket for now because I'm still on the hunt for the inner tie rod which I haven't found, so that's on hold. Hopefully I can get one tomorrow from a part supplier. I'm gonna put on a steering wheel. This is a new one I bought on Wish. I just like cheap things, and this is No Good Racing. Obviously it's gonna be a copy generally associated with Hondas, but I thought it's pretty cool, so I'm just gonna put it on there in the middle so we now know that the steering rack is center to the steering wheel. And without starting the engine, I'm gonna put some ATF, automatic transmission fluid, for the power steering, and then I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm gonna keep this as a one long video as a drift prep because it didn't go according to plan, so I'll see you tomorrow, obviously for you a few seconds. Boom, and as by magic I'm back, not 1 day but 2 days later. That's how long it took to get one of these bad boys. It's actually quite hard to find them soon, so that's what we're gonna do now. Another thing we're gonna do is hopefully install a drift brace from the same company, Czech, to protect my precious differential and change the oil. Nothing else. There's no time left for nothing else. I did try and attempt to do the seats, but the seats I have, especially the drivers, because of the situation with the rail, is a bit too wide, so I will need to get a different seat. So today an oil change and diff brace and finish the steering, try and do some sort of alignment. So let's tackle the steering arm inner tie rod. Okay, with some Loctite on there. That's it. So the camera is a little bit misty. Shove that in there. And then, unfortunately I haven't got two big spanners. Sorry about the video, this camera really misting up. I hate when aftermarket parts are different size. Okay, so that's all pretty much sorted. The wheels look fairly straight. We're gonna do the rest of the tracking on the floor. Now let's put on the brakes. So while the engine oil is draining, I'm gonna install the diff brace, which is a little device that helps it not break, because as you can see we only got one mount on the rear of the diff. So the way it works, you undo these bolts, and we will replace that, put two longer bolts in there that come in the kit and one bolt that goes through the top there. And then at the top, you can only assume we've got this sleeve. Okay, and then we do everything up, and that should save our diff from exploding. All good. And that is one Czech diff brace. Now I'm gonna fill it up with exactly 5 litres of oil. Right, this is 1060. Might be a bit of an overkill for a 350Z, but I haven't got an oil cooler and some people run the 1060, so that is all we've got. They take 5 litres, I'm going to take a litre with me just in case. Okay, so it's getting really late, I don't want to be too noisy, and I also want to have a good night's sleep because I don't want to be all miserable tomorrow and actually enjoy it. So I'm most definitely the most unprepared drifter in the history of drifting. I've got spare wheels, wheel brace, cable ties, jack, and the alignment. I haven't got any time anymore. I need to load it up and the car is quite loud. The alignment we're gonna do tomorrow trackside. So I will see you guys for, why am I not in focus? For you, perhaps a couple of days. For me, obviously it's tomorrow, but in 2 days guys, there's gonna be another video where we do some mad skids. See you later.